Connor's telling me we can rock and roll. Hey, everybody, this is Bo back in the lounge. Want to do a shout-out to the 1.5 million listeners that we have. Thank you so much. Keep sending the texts and emails. And obviously the military bases that are stationed all over that keep sending us text and email. We've got a treat today. We've got a brand-new face on the Z Sports Lounge. It's none other than Lacey Schuckman. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for showing up. You've got a busy couple weeks ahead of you leading into the Strikeforce 2009 September 25th date.
Yes, definitely.
A little background on you. We obviously can go on in bio, but we're going to hear about it from you before we start breaking down the upcoming fight you have with Jeri Sitzes. How did you get involved in MMA?
Well, first, my husband, he had always trained in traditional taekwondo, and he used to always just pick on me all the time, so I got kind of tired of getting beat up. So I was like, I want to do this too, and then we realized, through the motions that taekwondo wasn't going to take us far in the sport of MMA, so we started doing Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My husband had a school wrestling background, so we really got into the collegiate side of it as well as boxing. So it just kind of was something I've always done. I've always, been in schoolyard fights my whole life, so it was just something that I was naturally drawn to.
Awesome. That's great. You leave it from the playground and you get it on the mats, and now you can get paid for it. Much better, isn't it?
Exactly. Much better. I like getting punched for money instead of for free now.
Yeah, for real. Now, with your upcoming fight, have you had a chance to watch some of videos of Jeri?
I've seen, a few of her. I've seen both her fights with Anita Rodriguez. I haven't seen her fight with Amber Powell, but I've also watched a lot of her kickboxing and boxing, and she's definitely stepping into the MMA world. Maybe she's lacking a little in ground, but definitely her stand-up is awesome, and she just hits like a hammer. So I'm really looking forward to this because we both have similar backgrounds, Taekwondo and Muay Thai, so it'll be really exciting.
I think one element in the ladies that a lot of people overlook, and I know they overlook it because I hear about them and I get text messages, is when they look at the records, the world of MMA doesn't take in consideration the kickboxing, the amateur boxing, the fighting. There's a lot of MMA fighters out there, particularly ladies, that have been very successful in kickboxing, and that almost just drops off the face of the earth unless you actually do some real digging. I think in some cases they should really look at some of the amateur bouts, boxing bouts, and kickboxing because it's really building the full picture of the fighter. That's my feeling. What's your feelings on that?
Well, I agree because, I started as an amateur kickboxer. I did Muay Thai, and I went 4-2 in that as an amateur. And then I also had an amateur MMA career, I was also 4-2. And, people don't see that, and then they think, oh, she's only had, 4 fights in her life. And it's like, no, I'm getting ready to have my 17th fight. So, I mean, it's not like I'm new to the game or that I haven't been around for years and years. So, and also people don't understand, like, I was an amateur champion, I was Female Fighter of the Year in 2006 in Colorado. So I just think all those things build up your resume, and people, if they don't know that, they just really underestimate you as a fighter.
Well, I think a lot of fans that are coming around, when Elite XC was in full operation, when it finally joined CBS, and it had the windfall of ratings before the implosion financially because they overspent on some of the pay-per-view events that didn't deliver. But the Elite XC, one thing that it did awesomely, better than I think anybody, is it really promoted ladies fighters. Some of the lady fighters were actually top billers on the ratings because they wanted to see more of them. Strikeforce has the opportunity to do exactly the same thing. They look like they have better finances. Hopefully they don't peter out because I really think that the nation and the world is really ready to see primetime ladies fights. I
totally agree. As much as, a lot of female fighters, want to be upset with Gina Carano just because she's getting so much publicity and getting, the tag of face of women's MMA. She's done so much to pioneer for us to get all the names out there, such as Cyborg, such as Shayna Baszler, Misha Tate, Sarah Kaufman. All those girls have such big names, and Strikeforce is really pushing them. And when they do, people finally understand and see women's MMA, and they're like, wow, this isn't just ridiculous, a bunch of girls scratching each other's eyes out. These are, trained athletes, and they're scary. Some of them are more scary than some of the men, So, and a lot of times women just put on such exciting fights. It's really going to benefit us that, everyone's seeing this on Showtime and seeing that it is a serious thing and that we are going to make, hopefully something very big out of female MMA.
Well, the other element I like in MMA is I'm an older dude. I'm 40 plus years old, and we'll just leave it at that. A
I'm
lot of
so
these,
old.
and a lot of these women fighters are in their 30s and 40s, and they're doing nothing but winning. They're using the experience of the past. Kathy Long just had her first MMA bout, and Avery Vilcha was a delight to have on. She really loved Kathy. She said the one thing about her is she hits like a ton of bricks. And we get Kathy on and find out that her and Avery are just really tight, really passionate about their sport, and really do a lot of positive feedback. A lot of times, elements you don't see that in guys. Guys have a lot of testosterone issues where they can't put down their guard. In ladies, you can really show respect for one another, which I know it's not the norm, but for us in the media, it really helps us to sell the sport when you guys are great ambassadors.
Yeah, I think, for the most part, I think a lot of females are, pretty good and respectful with one another, especially after they fight, because once someone hits you in the face, you have a different respect for them. Before you could talk all the trash you wanted, but as soon as you fight someone, you know how close the fight was, and that's what really changes things. But, then you have those girls that, just it's personal to them, and they just take it, and just forever you guys are enemies, and I just think that's so stupid. I really, appreciate girls like Kathy Long and Avery Vilche, because I know Avery, and I love her to death. She's so awesome. We fought in the Grand Prix together. But, yeah, she's just a great example of someone that, let it go past the ring. That's what we did in there. That's our jobs, and now whatever. It's very nice to be friends with you. So I think that's great. I really think that's important to the sport. I think when it gets catty and it gets personal, it makes us look stupid, and it kind of just puts us 2 feet back.
Yeah, I mean, Kathy Long pointed out is that she has to do things twice as good as a guy, because if she does half the stuff that the guys do, it looks like double as bad. I think the trash. I really haven't picked up too much negative, to be honest with you, on most MMM fighters that are out there. I know sometimes they drop a bomb, they get upset about things, but that happens in life, in careers, and businesses, and everything else. And I think for the fan that is learning to watch and pay more attention to what's going on in women's sports, having role models that are out there does seem to help capture the imagination of the world. You've got Tara LaRosa, and you think about all the fights that are out there that are on YouTube that you can go out and purchase and buy. Nothing's going to be bigger than your fight stepping into that ring with Jeri Sitzes. Jeri Sitzes has got the Chuck Norris people behind her. She's got just a plethora of individuals followed her career, and then there's you stepping into the ring who has equally as many interesting bouts, fights, wins, and loss records. It's a very compelling story watching you two go at it.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's kind of funny, too, because, like I said, we have such similar backgrounds. Being that she's from World Combat League, I actually did a commercial for Chuck Norris's son, Mike Norris, where he was starting X-Fight League, and so it's kind of funny that we both have that kind of connection. But, yeah, I mean, it's awesome because it's when you get to a point in your career where you have to start taking, serious challenges, she's a great one to step up and take because she has so much following. She has a name, and that's what you're doing in this sport is you're trying to fight names. It's nothing personal. It's nothing. It's just to benefit your career. And
Absolutely.
she's just awesome. I have the most respect in the world for Jeri, and I'm really excited for this fight because no matter what the outcome, it's just totally, we're both going to learn about ourselves and learn who we are as fighters, and we're going to get to go home and work on whatever we need to work on. And it's going to get both of our names out there just being that we had the opportunity to fight on Strikeforce.
Absolutely. And I think the element that I enjoy about your background is if anybody's listened to the show, follow the blogs, we're super big into wrestling. And right now, it looks like the apex of the UFC is going in the direction of wrestling. It's almost the own wrestling professional league. You look at some of the Strikeforce winners, such as Kung Lee. He had a significant wrestling background in college. Some of the best fighters out there right now all come from the training of American-style wrestling. And for you to have that background, that is a special element that you bring to the table that could be a surprise because a lot of fighters who don't train in wrestling do not understand what's involved with it.
Oh, I agree. Wrestling, it's funny because when we do wrestling, it kills me because it's one of the hardest aspects just because it's so rough and it's so in your face. But it is so dominating when you get in that cage. I mean, you have to have that strong wrestling background. I mean, it's great to have jiu-jitsu, but you got to have great takedowns. You have to have that drive that you get from wrestling. And, you notice a lot of people when I fought in Wisconsin for freestyle or for Fearless Fighting Championships, we met this guy who was, an all-state, champion college wrestler from Minnesota, and he trained MMA for maybe 2 weeks, went and had his first MMA fight, and because of his strong wrestling background, he just dominated. He killed the fight in like a minute. So, I mean, it's just a very strong style to have in your arsenal.
Yeah, and I think in Canada they have it right for college wrestling. In the States, there's only a few colleges. I know Randy Miller's part of a new college that has women's wrestling.